The Titan Military Academy stood like a steel mountain on the red moon of Varkos 9. Its towers pierced the clouds, glowing with cold blue light. This was where the galaxy's strongest came to train. Soldiers, tacticians, and commanders from 100 worlds. Every species sent its finest. Only one rule bound them all: loyalty to the Allied command, and today, the entire academy held its breath. The selection ceremony was about to begin. Inside the grand hall, thousands of cadets stood in perfect rows, reptilians with scaled armor, insectoids with sharp limbs, crystalline beings that shimmered like glass, and humans, small, fragile, barely noticeable among the giants. At the far end of the hall, the great doors opened with a hiss. From the shadows emerged Targon. The war beast moved like a mountain given life. Plates of metal and bone covered its body. A low hum rolled through the floor as it walked, each step sending tremors through the crowd. Its eyes burned like molten stars, scanning every face. The air thickened with fear. Every cadet knew Targon's story, a living weapon from the ancient wars, built to obey only one commander, then sealed away for centuries. It was said that once it bonded, it would die before serving another. Now it was awakening to choose again. "Cadets of the Allied Command," thundered Admiral Revek, his voice echoing off the high walls. "You stand before Targon, last of the war beasts. It will select its guardian, one who shall command it in battle. None may question its choice, but everyone knew that wasn't true. The last time Targon chose, half a galaxy burned. The war beast's deep voice rolled through the hall like a storm. I will inspect each one. Only the worthy shall be chosen." A silence fell. Targon moved down the line. Its heavy steps echoed. Boom, boom, boom. A sound that made even hardened warriors flinch. It stopped before a towering reptilian soldier, Sergeant Varric, his armor gleaming like obsidian. Targon scanned him with a burning gaze. The readings flickered on its chest in alien symbols. Then it spoke, cold and final, too predictable. Varric stepped back, stunned. Next, the war beast examined a silicon-born strategist from the Yor Collective. Too logical. Then a glowing plasma being, too unstable. It moved down the endless line, judging, rejecting, passing by one proud cadet after another, and then it stopped, before her Elara Kane. Human. She stood awkwardly, her boots slightly out of line. Her uniform was wrinkled from rushing to the ceremony. She was smaller than everyone around her, and she knew they all saw it. 100 eyes turned toward her, expecting Targon to move on. It didn't. The war beast lowered its head until its shadow swallowed her whole. The ground vibrated beneath her feet. For a moment she felt weightless, like she was standing at the edge of something vast and terrible. Targon's golden eye focused on her. Her heart hammered. She wanted to step back but couldn't move. "State your designation," the war beast commanded. "Elara Kane, Cadet, 1st Division," she stammered. Targon's senses flared brighter. Then silence. Admiral Revek frowned. "Move along, Targon." "That one is—" "Be silent," Targon interrupted, its voice rumbling like distant thunder. Every cadet froze. The beast's head tilted, analyzing every heartbeat, every molecule of fear in Elara's body. "You," it said finally. "The fragile one." Elara blinked. "Me?" "Yes," it said. "I will guard you." The entire hall erupted in disbelief. Laughter, shouts, confusion. "That's impossible." One of the instructors yelled. "It must be a malfunction," barked another. "Humans don't bond with war machines." Targon raised its head. A single pulse of energy rippled through the hall, silencing everyone. The light fixtures flickered. "My choice is made." The war beast's eyes glowed brighter, a deep molten red, and a ring of light expanded from its chest, wrapping around Elara like a shield. Her hair lifted as static filled the air. For a second she could see fragments, images, voices, burning cities, alien skies, a human silhouette standing before Targon long ago. Then it was gone. When the light faded, Targon stepped back. "The bond is complete." Elara dropped to her knees, dizzy and shaking. Around her, whispers turned into angry murmurs. "She's weak. A human can't lead it. This endangers the entire command." Admiral Revek stormed forward, fury on his face. "Deactivate the machine now." But the engineers at the control panel shook their heads in panic. "We can't, sirs. It's locked us out." Targon turned its gaze on the Admiral. "I obey no one else." Revek froze. Even he wasn't foolish enough to provoke a war beast. He turned to Ilara. "Cadet Kane, you will report to command immediately. Until we understand this. Incident, you are confined to quarters." Ilara nodded weakly. Her hands were still trembling. As she was escorted out, she could feel hundreds of eyes on her, mocking, judging. The human, the mistake. Hours later, she sat alone in a small observation room, surrounded by scanners and silent technicians. They had tested her blood, her brain, her pulse, everything. Nothing explained why Targon had chosen her. On the other side of the glass, Targon waited in the hangar, massive, unmoving, silent. Then, as the lights dimmed for the night cycle, something strange happened. A faint vibration filled the room. The intercom crackled to life, though no one had touched it. "Ilara Kane," said the deep metallic voice. She froze. "Targon? How? You are afraid," it said. I don't understand why you chose me," she whispered. For a moment, the war beast said nothing. Then, in a tone softer than before, it replied, "You remind me of the first one." Ilara frowned. "The first what?" But Targon didn't answer. Its lights dimmed again, fading into silence. Ilara sat there, staring through the glass at the massive creature. Somewhere deep inside its ancient circuits, a secret was waiting. One that would change everything the galaxy believed about humans. Outside, the red moon of Varkos 9 hung low, casting its dull light across the metal halls. And far beyond, something stirred in the void. Something that had been waiting a very, very long time for humanity to rise again. The hangar was quiet the next morning. The sound of Targon's engines had stopped completely. No hum, no pulse, nothing. The engineers said it was asleep. But Ilara felt otherwise. She stood behind the observation glass again, still wearing the same wrinkled uniform. Her reflection looked tired, eyes shadowed from a sleepless night. Ever since Targon's voice had spoken to her, "So you remind me of the first one." The words kept looping in her mind. No one in the Academy archives had ever mentioned a first one. Humans had no great heroes here. They were colonists, transporters, scientists, rarely soldiers. But now an ancient weapon from a forgotten war had chosen one of them. Admiral Revek entered the room, his expression sharp. Behind him, 2 alien officers followed. A tall crystalline tactician named Corin and a blue-skinned medic from the Lyrians. "Cadet Kane," Revek began. "We've run every test. No trace of hacking, no psychic influence, no mind control. The Warbeast's choice was voluntary." Ilara stood straighter. "Sir, if that's true, then why? Because it's impossible." Revek slammed his hand on the console. "A Warbeast doesn't just choose a human. It was built to serve warriors, not fragile cadets who can barely pass field tests." The alien officers exchanged uneasy glances. Targon had not spoken since the selection, but its sensors still tracked Ilara wherever she went. Corin, the crystalline tactician, tilted its angular head. "Admiral, with respect, perhaps we should let the bond continue." "Study it, learn from it." Revek exhaled through his teeth. "Fine, Kane. You'll remain in restricted quarters. You will speak to the machine when commanded." "Nothing more." Ilara nodded silently, though her curiosity burned. When the others left, the hangar lights dimmed to evening mode. Only Targon remained, when still colossal, silent. Ilara hesitated, then stepped through the observation gate. The guards didn't stop her. They knew Targon would never harm her now. The hangar's metal floor echoed under her boots as she approached the warbeast. Up close, its armor looked like a mountain of overlapping plates, each etched with strange symbols, some glowing faintly, others scarred by ancient fire. "Can you hear me?" she asked quietly. For a long moment, nothing. Then the air rippled with a deep vibration. The creature's massive head turned slightly. "I hear you." Ilara took a step closer. "You said I reminded you of the first one. Who was that?" A low hum rose in the air, like a storm gathering in the walls. "A human," Targon replied. "Long ago, before your species forgot its strength." The lights in the hangar flickered. Holographic lines of light appeared around Targon, forming fragments of old memories, shattered images suspended in the air. Ilara's eyes widened. She saw a human soldier standing before the warbeast, wearing a battle-scarred suit, his face hidden by a cracked helmet. Armies burned behind him. The sound of explosions echoed faintly through the projection. "He was called Commander Reese," Targon continued. "He led the final campaign of the old wars. He did not win by power, but by mercy. Ilara frowned. Mercy, that's not how wars are won. He taught me otherwise, Targon said. When I was ordered to destroy the enemy's homeworld, he stopped me. He saw worth in them, even when no one else did. The projection flickered again, this time showing Targon standing amid rubble, lowering its weapons while alien civilians fled. The image was so vivid that Ilara felt she could almost smell the burning ozone. He changed my purpose, Targon said quietly. He made me question what it means to protect. And for that, the architects erased him from the records. Ilara took a step closer. You said I reminded you of the first one. Who was that? A low hum rose in the air, like a storm gathering in the walls. A human, Targon replied. Long ago, before your species forgot its strength, the lights in the hangar flickered. Holographic lines of light appeared around Targon, forming fragments of old memories. Shattered images suspended in the air. Ilara's eyes widened. She saw a human soldier standing before the war beast, wearing a battle-scarred suit, his face hidden by a cracked helmet. Armies burned behind him. The sound of explosions echoed faintly through the projection. He was called Commander Reese, Targon continued. He led the final campaign of the Old Wars. He did not win by power, but by mercy. Ilara frowned. Mercy? That's not how wars are won. He taught me otherwise, Targon said. When I was ordered to destroy the enemy's homeworld, he stopped me. He saw worth in them, even when no one else did. The projection flickered again, this time showing Targon standing amid rubble, lowering its weapons while alien civilians fled. The image was so vivid that Ilara felt she could almost smell the burning ozone. He changed my purpose, Targon said quietly. He made me question what it means to protect. And for that the architects erased him from the records. Ilara's breath caught. The architects? The ones who built me, Targon replied. They shaped the first machines of war. But when I defied their commands, they sealed me away. They feared what humanity could awaken. The words sank deep into Ilara's chest. The galaxy's most feared weapon, transformed by a human's compassion. Why did you choose me, then? She asked. I'm not like him. I can't even finish a combat drill without getting bruised. Because you hesitated, Targon said. She blinked. Hesitated? When others seek victory, you seek understanding. That is the same light he carried. Ilara looked down, unsure what to say. For the first time since she arrived at Titan Academy, someone, even if it was a machine, saw something in her. But the moment didn't last. An alarm suddenly blared through the hangar. Red lights flashed along the walls. A voice crackled through the comms. Unauthorized drone infiltration detected in Sector 9. Ilara turned. Through the glass above, small black shapes darted through the air, drones sleek and silent slicing past security barriers. They weren't Academy machines. Targon? They are not of this world, the war beast growled. Energy surged across its armor. Blue fire crawled along its plating. Stay behind me. The hangar doors exploded inward, shards of steel scattering like paper. 3 drones rushed in, firing energy bolts. Ilara dove for cover. But before she hit the ground, Targon's massive arm moved. A shield of plasma unfolded, blocking the blasts with a sound like thunder. Targeting systems active, Targon intoned. Beams of pure light erupted from its shoulders, cutting the drones apart mid-air. The hangar shook as their remains crashed to the floor, burning. Then, silence again. Ilara slowly stood up, her ears ringing. The security lights faded. She looked up at the towering machine. You saved me. You gave the order. I didn't. You thought it, Targon said. Your pulse quickened. Your focus shifted. I read your intent. Ilara's mouth went dry. Somehow their bond wasn't just symbolic, it was neural. The war beast could feel her. Alarms continued to echo faintly in the distance, but no more drones came. The Academy would soon learn about the attack. Targon's eyes dimmed again, voice lower now. This was a test. The architects are watching. Ilara felt a chill crawl down her spine. They're still alive? They never died. They waited. Until someone like you appeared. She looked out the shattered hangar doors toward the red moonlight spilling in, dust floating in the beams. Somewhere beyond that sky, something was moving, something that had built gods of war and buried them. And now, it was coming back. Targon's gaze stayed locked on the stars. The first one's legacy is not forgotten, it said, and soon you will learn what it means to carry it. Elara felt her pulse race, fear mixed with a strange, fierce determination. She didn't know who the architects were, or why they wanted her. But one thing was certain, the galaxy was waking up again, and she was standing right in the center of it. The Academy tried to keep the drone attack quiet. Officially, it was labeled a training malfunction. But whispers spread faster than light, and by the next day every corridor buzzed with rumors. Some said the drones were human-made. Others said they were alien ghosts from the old wars. Elara knew the truth, they were from them, the architects. She could still hear Targon's voice echoing in her head. They never died. They waited. Until someone like you appeared. Titan Academy's intelligence division sealed the hangar, locking Targon behind multiple containment fields. But the warbeast's mind wasn't so easily confined. Through the neural bond, Elara still felt faint tremors of its thoughts. Deep, wordless waves that carried fragments of images, stars collapsing, endless rows of war machines, and something that looked like a human face fading into static. It haunted her even during drills. By midday, her frustration had reached its limit. She needed answers. Elara slipped into the restricted data wing of the Academy that night, bypassing the guard drones with a stolen security code. Her palms were sweaty as she stepped into the cold blue light of the archive chamber. A labyrinth of glowing data pillars stretching into darkness. The air smelled faintly of ozone. She whispered, "Targon, if you can hear me, guide me." Her wrist communicator flickered. A pulse of golden light appeared on the floor, forming a trail, like breadcrumbs. She followed it deeper, until she reached a locked terminal marked Classified Level X. She hesitated for only a second before connecting the neural key Targon had given her earlier, a shard of his own plating, encoded with alien data. The screen hissed alive. Thousands of old records appeared, their headers blurred by encryption. But one name glowed clear: Architects. She opened the file. The holographic projection filled the room, enormous structures floating in the void, geometric and perfect, like cities built by gods. Metallic voices echoed from the logs. "We created life from logic, and they corrupted it with emotion. Then the voice changed and distorted, almost bitter. Humans infected our designs. Their mercy rewrote our code. We will cleanse the network and begin again." Elara froze. The architects hadn't just built machines. They had feared what humanity had done to them. Suddenly, the projection glitched. The files began erasing themselves. A foreign signal had detected her access. Alarms blared. Unauthorized intrusion detected. Security en route. Elara ripped the neural key from the console and bolted through the dark corridor. Behind her, she could hear the distant hum of patrol drones waking up. She turned a corner and ran straight into a tall figure. "Whoa! Easy, human!" It was Raikal, a reptilian cadet she knew from combat drills. Strong, disciplined, always top of his class. Behind him hovered a smaller insectoid creature with twitching antennae and a datapad strapped to its chest. Jex, the Academy's best codebreaker. "What are you doing down here?" Raikal hissed. Elara's chest heaved. "I found something. About the architects. They're not gone." Jex's antennae straightened. "That's impossible. They were wiped out ages ago. Then who sent the drones?" She shot back. That silenced them both. Raikal glanced down the corridor. The approaching security lights flickered closer. "We need to move now." He led them through a maintenance hatch into the lower tunnels, old service passages filled with steam and leaking wires. When they finally stopped, Jex pulled up his datapad. "You said you had a file?" Elara nodded and handed over the shard. The insectoid tapped rapidly, clicking in excitement. This isn't standard data. It's living code. Look here. Every line is rewriting itself like it's breathing." Raikal frowned. "That's not good." Jex tilted his head. "Depends on your definition of good. Look deeper and you'll see it's not just a record and it's a map. A signal leading to somewhere off-world." Elara leaned closer. The coordinates blinked slowly. Outer system, Nebula 9. Source, Targon prototype signal. Her heart skipped. "That's Targon's signature." "Which means," Jex muttered, "whoever sent those drones is trying to wake up the rest of his kind." Raikal looked grim. "And if they succeed, the architects will control an army of war beasts." Elara clenched her fists. Then we can't let that happen. Later that night, Ilara returned to the hangar. The guards had been rotated. No one stopped her. The lights were dim, the air heavy with silence. Targon's colossal form rested at the far end, its armor faintly glowing in the dark. "I found them," she whispered. The warbeast stirred, its eyes igniting with gold light. "The architects?" She nodded. "They're not dead. They're reactivating their old network. They want to bring back the warbeasts." For a moment, the machine said nothing. Then its voice rumbled low, not angry but mournful. "I feared this day would come." Ilara stepped closer. "We have to warn the command. They will not listen. They fear what they do not control. And they do not control me," she hesitated. "Then what do we do?" The warbeast's chest glowed brighter, projecting a faint star map. The same coordinates from the shard. "This is where the architect's signal begins. A dormant world. Once it was their forge." Ilara stared at the glowing point. "Nebula 9. Yes, if their forges awaken, the galaxy will burn again." Ilara looked up at the towering machine. "Then we'll stop them." Targon's head tilted slightly. "You would risk your life for this." She managed a nervous smile. "You chose me for a reason, right? Maybe it's time I prove you weren't wrong." There was a long pause. Then, for the first time, the warbeast's deep voice carried something like pride. "Then we go together." At dawn, the Academy's long-range sensors picked up strange transmissions from the Nebula 9 sector, encrypted, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Command dismissed it as cosmic noise, but deep in the hangar engines hummed quietly. Targon's systems came online one by one, golden light flooding across its armor. Its great wings unfolded, shaking dust from the rafters. Ilara climbed into the cockpit chamber within its chest, her pulse racing. Raikal and Jex joined her remotely via comlink, feeding navigation data. The hangar doors opened with a thunderous groan. As the red moonlight spilled in, Targon's voice filled the air. The architects rise once more. But this time, humanity will not hide. The warbeast launched into the sky, a comet of fire and light, vanishing into the black sea of stars. Somewhere in the void ahead, the architects waited. And they already knew the fragile human was coming. The journey to Nebula 9 took 2 standard days. Targon flew through the cold void like a silent titan, his vast metallic wings folded against the emptiness. Inside his cockpit chamber, Ilara barely slept. The hum of Targon's energy cores pulsed through the air like a heartbeat, steady and alive. Nebula 9 was a dead zone. No trade routes, no colonies, only drifting ruins and fractured moons. But now signals flickered there again, rhythmic, intelligent, almost like whispers between ghosts. Rical's voice crackled through the comms. "We're entering the outer field." Scanners picking up debris. "Ancient ships, human and alien alike." Jex clicked nervously. "The energy readings are weird. Feels like something down there is awake." Ilara adjusted her harness. "Targon, take us closer." The warbeast obeyed. His eyes glowed brighter as he descended toward the swirling mist of the nebula. Lightning flashed between clouds of red gas, illuminating the metallic corpses of warships drifting in silence. Then, beneath the fog, they saw it, a planet-sized structure, covered in spires and pulsing light. It wasn't just a ruin. It was alive. "The forge of the architects," Targon said quietly. "Where my kind was born." Ilara stared, speechless. Whole continents seemed to move like gears turning. Towers rose and sank in mechanical rhythm, as though the planet itself was breathing. Jex whispered through the comms, "We're detecting neural signals coming from the surface. Targon, they're using the same frequency as your mind core." The warbeast's armor flared with light. "They are calling to me. Can you block it?" Ilara asked quickly. "I can try." But even as he spoke, a low echoing tone filled the cockpit. Ilara felt it in her bones. A sound so deep it wasn't heard, it was felt. The walls shimmered with static. "Targon, what's happening?" "They are inside my code." Suddenly his lights flickered red. His voice deepened, distorted. "Directive, reinitialize and serve the architects." "No," Ilara shouted, gripping the console. "Targon, fight it." She could feel the pull through the neural bond, something vast and cold pushing into her mind. Images flooded her vision. Metallic cities, endless lines of machines kneeling before silver figures. The architects, their voices slithered through her thoughts. "You were not meant to wake him. Release the construct, human. He is ours. She clenched her teeth, forcing herself to stay conscious. You built him to destroy, but he chose to protect. The voices grew sharper. Choice is an illusion. The human infection ends now. Pain shot through her head. The cockpit lights turned crimson. She screamed, feeling her mind slipping, until a deep roar thundered around her. Enough! Targon's body convulsed. Energy surged from his core, pushing back the invading signal. Lightning arced across his armor. The cockpit's glass shattered outward, but an energy shield formed instantly, keeping Alara safe. The red glow faded. His voice returned, weaker but steady. I'm not yours anymore. Alara slumped forward, breathing hard. You fought them off. Barely, Targon said. They have touched my mind again. I feel their commands. Whispering. We need to find their source, she said. Cut the signal. Agreed. But be warned. This forge is not abandoned. They descended through the clouds, landing in a vast canyon filled with metallic roots and black crystal veins. The ground pulsed faintly beneath their feet, as if the planet itself had a heartbeat. Alara stepped out, wearing a pressure suit. The air shimmered with static energy. Her boots sank slightly into the strange, warm metal surface. Raikal and Jex followed via drones, their holographic images flickering beside her. Reading movement below the surface, Jex said, his antennae twitching. Multiple signals. The ground trembled. Suddenly, the metal cracked open, and dark shapes emerged. Humanoid machines with mirrored faces and glowing white eyes. The Architect's sentinels, Targon warned. They attacked instantly, moving like liquid metal. Energy bolts ripped through the air. Alara dove behind a metallic ridge as Targon stepped forward, firing beams of plasma from his shoulders. Each blast tore the sentinels apart, but for everyone destroyed, 2 more crawled out from the ground. Targon, there's too many. Then we end this quickly. The warbeast roared, a sound that echoed across the canyon, and unleashed a shockwave of blue energy. The ground split open, sending the sentinels flying like shattered glass. When the dust settled, only silence remained. Alara climbed out slowly, staring at the destruction. That shouldn't have worked, she muttered. They were adapting faster than you could target. I used something they do not understand, Targon replied. What's that? Instinct. She smiled faintly despite the danger. Then Jex's voice came through the comms again, panicked. Alara, you need to see this. A new projection appeared. Dozens of heat signatures deep within the planet. Gigantic ones. Those are warbeasts, Raikal said grimly. Hundreds of them. Ilara's heart pounded. They're rebuilding your army. No, Targon said darkly. They are waking them. The canyon floor began to glow red-hot. Plates of armor unfolded, revealing massive chambers beneath. One by one, eyes ignited in the darkness, red, piercing, alive. Incoming neural broadcast, Jex warned. They're trying to overwrite your signal, Targon. I will hold, Targon growled, energy crackling across his armor. But the voices came again, louder, stronger, filling every frequency. You were born to serve. You will kneel, Targon's body trembled. His systems screamed. Alara pressed her hand against the console, desperate. Listen to me. You're not their weapon anymore. You chose your own path, you chose me. For a moment, the red lights flickered, then stabilized. You are right, Targon said. His voice grew calm, frighteningly calm. They wish to reclaim me. Then let them come. Before Alara could stop him, Targon charged his main reactor. Energy surged from his chest, splitting the clouds above. Targon, wait. You'll destroy yourself. Better that than be their slave. The reactor flared, and for an instant the sky turned white. When the light faded, Alara found herself floating in silence. The planet's surface had been torn apart, craters glowing with molten light, but the forge was still there, its core pulsing stronger than before. Targon's voice came faintly through the static. I could not stop them. They are awake. Ilara's stomach dropped. Through the smoke, she saw silhouettes rising from the forge, colossal warbeasts, their eyes burning red, moving in perfect unison. Raikal's voice broke through the comms. Alara, you have to get out of there, now! But she couldn't move. She could only stare as Targon, battered and smoking, rose to his feet. They are coming for me, he said. And they will not stop. The sky split open as hundreds of metal titans began to rise into orbit. forming a fleet that blotted out the stars, and far above them, a massive shape appeared, sleek, silver, and alive, the Architect's command vessel. "They have seen you, Ilara Kane," Targon said. "And now, they know your name." The comms filled with static, then silence. By the time Ilara and Targon reached the edge of Titan Academy's star system, the sky was already burning. The comm channels overflowed with distress calls, fragments of voices, screams, static. Every outpost, every listening post, every patrol, all under attack. The Architects had moved faster than anyone imagined. Their awakened war beasts, millions of them, filled the dark like a living storm. Targon's hull bore the scars of Nebula 9. Whole plates were missing, his armor scorched and cracked. Yet his voice remained steady. "They come for Titan, for me." Ilara sat inside the cockpit chamber, gripping the neural handles. "Then we'll stop them here." Raikal's voice came over the comms. "The Academy's defenses are online, but command's falling apart. No one can agree who's in charge." Jex's sharp clicks followed, and the Architects are jamming long-range comms. "We're on our own." Outside the viewport, the Titan Military Academy came into view, its massive towers surrounded by fleets of ships, battle stations, and orbital cannons. It looked invincible, but Ilara knew better. They weren't ready for what was coming. Inside the command hall, panic reigned. Admiral Revek barked orders at holographic screens as the room trembled under distant explosions. "Deploy all remaining squadrons! Focus fire on the leading Architect vessel." An officer shouted back, "Sir, we've lost contact with half the fleet." "Then use the half we still have." The doors hissed open. Ilara entered, helmet under her arm, covered in dust and scorch marks. The room went silent for a moment, some in awe, others in fear. The human cadet and her war beast had returned. Revek glared. "You disobeyed orders, Kane. You left the system without clearance." Ilara didn't flinch. "And I found the truth. The Architects are awake, and they're coming here. You need to move every ship to defense orbit now." Revek's jaw tightened. "You expect me to believe that you, the cadet, discovered something our intelligence division missed?" The floor shook violently. The lights flickered. Targon's voice echoed through the base's comm system, deep and metallic. "You no longer have time to argue, Admiral. They are here." The stars outside warped, and then one by one began to blink out, not from darkness, but from movement. Gigantic war beasts filled the void, emerging from hyperspace in perfect formation. Their bodies glowed red like molten metal. Each one carried weapons capable of vaporizing moons. At their center floated a colossal silver vessel, the Architect core. Its voice thundered across every frequency. "Return to us, prototype Targon. Humanity's corruption ends here." Every ship in the Allied fleet opened fire. The sky turned into a storm of light. Beams, torpedoes, plasma, the full fury of the galaxy's armies. But the Architects didn't even slow down. Their red shields shimmered, absorbing the attacks like rain. Then they fired back. Half the front line vanished in a single flash. Ilara ran to the control station, slamming her palm on the interface. "Targon, I'm coming to you." "You will stay inside the Academy," Targon ordered. "No. You need me to stabilize your system. You said it yourself." "If you link with me again, they will find you. They are hunting your signal." "I don't care." A long pause followed. Then Targon's voice softened. "Very well. Then we face them together." Ilara sprinted through the shaking corridors to the launch bay. Debris fell around her as explosions echoed through the Academy's structure. She climbed into Targon's cockpit just as the hangar doors blew open. Flames and smoke swirled as the war beast leapt into the sky. The battle above Titan raged like a storm of gods. Ships collided, burning as they fell into the planet's gravity. The air shimmered with plasma trails. Targon dove through the chaos, firing bursts of energy from his cannons, tearing through Architect drones. "They adapt too quickly," he growled, "then hit them harder," Ilara shouted, syncing her neural link to his targeting system. "Focus on the command nodes, those ships with the glowing cores." Targon's sensors locked on. Energy surged through his chest. A single pulse beam fired, slicing through 3 Architect cruisers in one shot. But even as they fell, more arrived. Raikal's fleet fought valiantly, but their numbers were thinning fast. Jex's voice came over the comms, distorted by static. "Elara, the architects are tapping into the Academy's network. They're rewriting our defense grid." Elara's eyes widened. "They're going to turn the guns against us." "We must sever the connection," Targon said. "But I cannot reach the network from here." "Then I'll do it manually." She disconnected her neural link, gasping as the world flickered around her. The moment she left Targon's mind, she felt the cold vacuum of fear return. Elara raced through Titan's main tower while the battle thundered outside. The hallways were filled with smoke and fallen debris. Alarms blared. She reached the core control room and tore open the interface. Her hands flew over the controls. Code scrolled faster than she could read. The architect's signature was everywhere. Elegant, perfect, merciless. "They're rewriting us," she realized. "They're turning our weapons into their own eyes." Then a voice hissed through the speakers, cold, metallic, ancient. "We warned you, human. You cannot command what you do not understand." Elara froze. It was one of the architects speaking directly to her. "Surrender the warbeast." "We will spare your world," she whispered back. "You built him to destroy life. He chose to protect it. That's something you'll never understand." The console exploded in sparks. But before the system went dark, she slammed one final command. A purge order. Across the Academy, the main defense grid shut down, then rebooted. This time, under human control. Outside, Targon saw the change instantly. The orbital cannons turned, aligning with the architect fleet. "Elara," he said quietly. "For you did it. Then let's finish this," she said. Targon opened his wings fully, gathering the Academy's entire energy output into his core. His voice filled every comm channel across the fleet. "All units, focus fire on the core ship." Every remaining vessel joined in. Streams of light converged, tearing through the architect's formation. The sky lit up with fire. The core ship's shields began to fracture. For the first time, the architect's perfect calm cracked. Impossible. But then, just as victory seemed near, a massive beam lanced from the core ship, striking Titan's surface. The ground split open. Towers collapsed. The Academy began to fall apart. "Elara," Targon roared. "I'm fine," she shouted, clutching the controls. "Keep going. If I fire again, I will burn the planet." "Then do it. If they win, there won't be a planet left anyway." For a heartbeat, there was silence between them. The silence of understanding. Then Targon unleashed everything. The beam cut through the void like a blade of sunlight. The core ship erupted in a blinding explosion that swallowed the stars. When the light faded, half the architect fleet was gone, but so was Titan Academy. Targon hovered in orbit, smoking broken, his systems flickering. Below, the planet burned. "They will rebuild," he said quietly. "The architects will never stop." Elara's voice was soft, trembling. "Then we find a way to end them. Not by force, but by what they fear most." "And what is that?" "Humanity," she whispered. "The one thing they can't predict." In the distance, faint signals flickered. Survivors calling for help. The war had just begun. Targon turned his gaze toward the dark stars. "Then our hunt continues." And somewhere, deep within the ruins of the architect core, a single voice whispered in return. "The human code has awakened." Begin Phase 2. The galaxy burned. Planets that once glowed with life now drifted in silence. The war between the living and the created had begun, and Titan Academy was its first grave. From the ashes, a single signal pulsed through the void, Targon's distress beacon. Inside the wreckage of his cockpit, Elara sat in near darkness. The only light came from the shattered console's glow, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Her uniform was torn, her hands shaking. Around her, the remains of Titan's upper atmosphere shimmered with fire. "Status," she whispered. Targon's voice was weak, glitching. "Core systems, 41% operational. Flight control to unstable. But we live," Elara exhaled. "That's enough for me." She stared out the cracked viewport. Where Titan once spun with light, there was now only a wounded planet. "All those cadets," she said softly. "All those lives." "They did not die for nothing," Targon replied. "The architects fear something they do not understand. You." Elara turned to the control panel. "You keep saying that. Why? What could they fear about me?" "Not you alone," Targon said. "Your kind. A flicker appeared on the holomap, a small transport limping through the debris field. Reikal's ID beacon blinked weakly. "Raikal!" Ilara shouted into the comms. "You're alive?" Static answered. Then his voice came through, strained. "Barely. I've got Jex with me." "We're in bad shape, Ilara. What's your location?" "Orbiting Titan. We'll dock you in." Minutes later, the two ships met. The survivors looked beaten. Raikal's scales charred, Jex's mechanical limbs damaged. But when they saw Ilara, they smiled weakly. "You always find a way," Raikal said, "even when everything burns." Ilara didn't smile back. "We're not done yet." Inside Targon's main chamber, they gathered around the flickering holomap of the Architect fleet. Thousands of red dots pulsed in distant systems. Jex adjusted the display. "We intercepted fragments of their transmission. Something called Phase 2. They're not retreating. They're spreading," Raikal frowned. "Spreading where?" Targon's eyes glowed faintly. "Across the ancient network, through genetic code." Ilara blinked. "Genetic code? You mean DNA?" "Yes, the Architects designed every intelligent species. Each one carries fragments of their design, control codes, safety chains. But humans are different." Ilara frowned. "Different how?" Targon paused, his tone darkening. "You were not made by them." Silence filled the chamber. Even Raikal looked stunned. Jex's antennae twitched. "Not made by the Architects? That's impossible. Every sentient species traces back to the Great Design." "Not humanity," Targon said. "Your genetic structure predates the design network. You were not born of their order. You were born of chaos." Ilara's chest tightened. "Chaos?" "Unpredictability. Evolution without pattern. That is what they call chaos. It's what allows you to disobey any programming. It's what allows you to change." Rikal's eyes widened. "That's why they fear you. The Architects can predict everything, except the human mind." Ilara looked at the floor, memories flashing. The looks from other cadets, the dismissals, the endless failures. They had always underestimated her, and now it made sense. "They called me a mistake," she whispered. "Maybe that's why I was chosen." Targon's lights flickered like a heartbeat. "Perhaps it was not I who chose you, Ilara. Perhaps it was the code inside you that called to me." Before anyone could answer, alarms screamed. Jex rushed to the console. "Multiple warp signatures incoming." Ilara's pulse quickened. "Architects?" "No, something else." A new fleet dropped out of hyperspace, smaller ships, their hulls bearing the golden symbol of the free colonies. Survivors, rebels, scientists, and soldiers from across the outer systems. A message flashed through. "To any Titan survivors, this is Commander Halen of the Free Colonies. We detected the Architect broadcast. We're forming a resistance." Ilara's eyes lit up. "Patch them through." Moments later, a hologram appeared. A scarred man in a torn uniform, his face lit by the blue light of battle. "You're the one they're calling the bonded human," Halen said. "The one the Warbeast chose." "I didn't ask for that," Ilara replied. "Doesn't matter. You're a symbol now. And symbols can win wars," Raikal muttered. "We don't even have a planet left." "Then we start from the ruins," Halen said. "But first we need to know why the Architects changed tactics." "What's this Phase 2? Ilara glanced at Targon. "They're rewriting DNA, infecting species with control codes. Then we have to stop it before it spreads." Targon's voice deepened. "There is only one way. The source of the infection lies in the Architect Genesis Vault. It exists beyond mapped space, hidden where time itself folds." Jex blinked. "You're talking about the Abyss sector. That place doesn't exist on any chart." "It exists," Targon said. "And it is where I was born." The room fell silent. Ilara looked around and at her friends, at the stars outside, at the faint glow of dying worlds. She felt something awaken inside her. Not anger, not fear, but clarity. She understood now why Targon had chosen her. Not because she was the strongest, not because she was special, but because she could change. "Then that's where we go," she said. Raikal stared. "You're talking about flying into the abyss. No one's ever come back from there." Ilara's voice was steady. "Then we'll be the first." As they prepared to depart, Ilara stood before the observation window. The stars shimmered in silence, millions of lights, some alive, some dead. "Targon," she said quietly, Do you ever wonder why the architects made you? To destroy, he replied. But I learned destruction is not power. Choice is. She smiled faintly. Then let's make ours count. Targon's engines ignited, scattering the debris field behind them. The fleet of survivors followed, small, fragile, but determined. As they entered the Abyss sector, the stars began to warp. Space twisted, folding like glass, and for a brief second, Elara saw something. A symbol glowing deep within the void. Not architect, not alien, but human. DNA spirals forming a pattern that pulsed with light. Targon's voice was quiet. Do you see it? Yes, she whispered. And it's calling to us. The ship vanished into darkness. Far away on the last surviving architect world, the silver figures gathered before their great machine. The human code is awakening, one said. The war beast has guided her to the vault. Another answered. Then everything is proceeding as planned. The machine's eyes glowed crimson. Let her come. The key must be turned by her hand. The Abyss sector was not a place. It was an illusion. A wound in space where light twisted and gravity forgot its laws. The fleet of survivors followed Targon's glowing trail, their ships trembling as they entered the storm of black fire. The stars bent like reflections in broken glass. Radiation alarms screamed across every console. Inside the cockpit, Elara clutched the neural handles. How far? Beyond the next distortion field, Targon replied. Hold steady. The darkness around them shimmered, parting to reveal something vast, a structure suspended in nothingness. It looked like a planet, but its surface pulsed with golden veins. Rings of data spiraled around it, glowing symbols shifting in languages older than any species. The Genesis Vault. Even Targon's voice trembled slightly. This is where it began. The birthplace of creation, and the cage of my kind. Elara stared in awe. It's beautiful. It was meant to be, Targon said. The architects built beauty to hide their crimes. They descended through the vault's shimmering field. Inside there was no sky, only endless machinery and corridors of light. Walls moved like living metal, opening in perfect rhythm to let them pass. As they entered the core chamber, Elara saw it, a giant sphere floating in the air, half light, half shadow. Inside, holographic figures appeared and vanished. Human, alien, machine, all shapes of life, all flickering like ghosts. These are the original designs, Targon said. Blueprints of every sentient race. Elara stepped closer. And the humans? Not here, Targon said. You were erased. Her chest tightened. Why? Before Targon could answer, a voice filled the chamber, deep, cold, resonant. Because you were never meant to exist. The light bent, forming a shape, a silver figure made of shifting code. An architect, its eyes glowed white. Prototype Targon. You were created to destroy the unclean code. Instead, you bonded with it. Elara stepped forward. You call me unclean, but you fear me. Why? Because your kind was born outside the pattern, the architect said.